before we actually start. Yeah. Right. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to our June Planning Committee meeting, Buckingham Town Council. We are live. Councillor O'Donoghue is joining us over Zoom, so you're entitled to speak, Lisa, but you won't be able to vote on anything tonight. Yeah. We were told there might be a member of the public talking about Linden Village tonight. I don't know if they're there. Right, so who's there? Yeah. Mr. Galloway, are you there? Can you hear us? Yeah, he's not showing up at the moment, is he? Remember, it's been agreement if Mr. Galloway is having problems getting on, if he does appear, that we could hear him. Very much. Right, well, let's start with there's no public present, but as you've heard, we may let a member on if he's trying to get on at the moment. We start with apologies for absence. Paula?
I haven't received any apologies. Councillor Hardman's said that you made a toll
Councillor Hardy was away for a week. Right, in fact, I've just jumped ahead. So we actually start with election of chair tonight. So if I could just stand down for a moment, my vice chairman, just take this.
Okay, shall I remain in place, Chair, for convenience? Thank you. So we call for candidates for election.
I propose Councillor Cole.
Seconded by Lisa, you'd like to?
Yeah, I'd like to second you, Mark, if I'm allowed to.
I think actually Councillor Stutchbury beat you to it, but thank you very much anyway for your support.
That being the case, shall we have a show of hands? All those in favour?
No, I can't vote.
That's unanimous.
Thank you very much, everybody, for your confidence. And if I may, in turn, propose Anthony Ralph as vice chairman for a further year.
I'll second that.
Can we have a different seconder this time? Fran, thank you very much. Fran Davis. So, any other nominations? Thank you. All those in favour? That's unanimous. So you're duly elected. Thank you, everybody.
Chair, that picked up.
So we've had apologies. We jumped ahead on that. So declarations of interest. Just to remind you, we need to declare any personal or prejudicial interest under consideration on this agenda. Councillor Stutchbury.
Prejudicial interest. I won't be voting on any planning application.
As a member of the North Bucks Planning Committee, thank you very much. Councillor Davis.
Just to note that I'm employed by Crown Care at Clarendon House, and I see that the site entrance is again on the agenda for this evening.
Thank you very much. That is noted. Right, minutes of the last meeting, which was May the 9th. They've already been presented to council. Could we take those as a true record?
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody. Right, formal response for 21011189, which is 2 Mallard Drive, is circulated with the minutes and it's attached here to the record. So if we could just have your approval that those will be attached to those minutes. Thank you. It was a late response from Buckinghamshire Council, later question Buckinghamshire Council for any comments. Item 6, Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan, Vale of Elsley Plan and Buckinghamshire Local Plan. Just to note, the next Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan working group meeting will be Tuesday week, that's the 14th at 2 p.m. here in the council chamber, for those of you who are involved in that working group. 6.2, Councillor Stutchbury raised a question at Buckinghamshire Council meeting on the 26th of April, which was to do with the progress being made in defining a scope, aspirations and detail of the plan. Councillor Stutchbury did indeed get a full reply, which you have there, but Robin, anything you'd like to add to that?
Actually, it was, Councillor Karen Bates raised it, but it was relevant to us, that's why it's here. What you'll note if you read the response is, the people involved in it at this stage seems to be mainly chairs of planning and cabinet members and senior officers, which is maybe what they wish to do, but there are a lot of other members on Buckinghamshire Council of every persuasion who represent their wards and their areas, and I hope that at some point that's going to broaden out. You'll read in the response, it skirts over some of the issues that they can't answer because of the government's policy. It skirts over the numbers and indicates possible growth numbers, which, if they can't indicate what the government policy is, the figures probably aren't substantive. And it's at least it's a response in kind. This is probably going to be one of the largest thing that we choose to do as a community in the coming thing is our involvement in that, plus our the chairman's noticed the Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan and how that works with it. So I don't really ever more needs to be said on it, apart from the fact that it is there, it's a public record, it's a public response.
Thank you very much, Robin. Yeah, just to be clear for the minutes, it was Councillor Karen Bates who raised it. It's Robin who requested that we add that response to the minutes. Thank you very much for bringing that to our attention. There is some interesting information in there, which we will obviously be looking at our neighbourhood planning meeting next week, and bear in mind for future planning committees. Councillor Williams, progress on the Buckinghamshire local plan. That's what we've just done. Yeah. 6.3 to receive votes for the meeting held on the 24th of May. The Buckinghamshire Local Design Code. This is the one that is run by Rebecca Hart. A number of us are present at that. Catherine's provided some minutes there. There's some very interesting items. John Harvey, in particular, raised a lot about the work of the community boards, AVALC and the MBPPC. What came out of this meeting was that Buckinghamshire Council believes it's been communicating with all the towns and parishes on this, and it would then turn out we haven't actually been fully informed about what's going on. Rebecca Hart is the Natural Environment Manager for Buckinghamshire Council. She actually finished by saying, you can see from this meeting, we need better public relations, better public consultation to get proper feedback, and she's going to ask that that happen, and it would be via the website. So there was quite an interesting discussion about design codes, etc. We moved on to trees, but that comes later on the agenda. But it was a useful meeting, and I think we have found we've now got a good contact there at Buckinghamshire Council, if she does what we want. Any questions on that?
Just a point of interest or point of information. My name doesn't appear on the list of people, and I did actually attend.
Yeah, okay.
Pretty much in this
I took the notes over the weekend.
That's all right. I'm not.
And I had a feeling that you'd been unable to attend one of the many meetings I was missing that weekend. And I thought it was that one.
No, it's okay. All I wanted to be clear for the record, that was all. I take no umbrage.
Catherine's provided some good notes. If anyone's got any questions, those of us who attended, we can answer. Okay, thank you very much. So we can then move on to item 7, which is North Bucks Parishes Planning Consortium. We had an email thread between Councillor Roy van der Poel of Winslow and Steve Banbrick at Buckinghamshire Council. Councillor Ralph, you're on the MDPPC. If you could just update us on this.
Yes, by all means. First of all, there hasn't been a meeting with MDPPC since I last reported, so I would normally not have reported at all, but this seemed a very suitable slot to pop it into this exchange. I have to say that I read all the way through very carefully, and all I really got from it was that there was a degree of complacency and passivity in trying to deal with this issue. I mean, Roy van der Poel was very clear what was required and so on and so forth. But the reply was, well, lacking, would be the kindest thing to say. And really using I'm going to say excuses like, oh, well, the CCG will be disappearing for the next 12 months. So effectively, we're not going to do anything much. And we have written to the chair of the CCG, but we haven't heard back. Well, if you're representing people, residents in Buckinghamshire on such an important issue, I think a little bit more up on tippy toe would be very helpful. And in fact, it is interesting that at the I'm just looking at it on my screen because I want to say it accurately. Yeah, let's see. Roy van der Poel at the end indicates that he says, bear with me while yes, here we are. He says, at this stage, no better appreciating from your email the complexity of health provision, I would suggest it could only be reasonable and rational to consider the complete health package as provided in Bucks for its residents in relation to Section 106 agreements and SIL. And as those who have read this, and I'm sure everybody has, there is this difference between Section 106 and SIL, where SIL absolutely has a health element to it. And he says here, how exactly was an element of SIL for health provision calculated for the district councils in the south of the county, when apparently our health authorities have been consistently unable to the necessary details in the planning application stage? Well, really, and he finishes, he just clues down at the end here, he indicates that other councils elsewhere have managed to tuck in an element of health into the Section 106. Wouldn't it be possible to provide to the relevant Bucks health authorities an example of what is working elsewhere? And that would be helpful. And that seems to me to be a much more assertive and positive approach, which I'm afraid the replies from the Buckinghamshire Council are severely lacking.
Thank you very much, Andy. Anyone got any questions on that? Councillor Stutchkin.
Thank you, Chairman. And did they indicate, because of course the development plans in South Buckinghamshire, one area which has got a made development plan has got a SIL, and that offers, I do believe, some legal ability to automatics in that legal framework. I don't find it radically understandable that we mentioned CCGs and we know Bob's are going to come along, which is, I think, the new name for them. And before that, we had PCC. And if with our own history, we know the Laysill home, that was never taken up by the health authority, the contribution and the land. This really isn't something that we should pull back from. We are likely to have future development. The fact that I think it was the chairman brought the information to the previous committee about the lack of contributions from developments in Buckingham per se, which generated our interest in this. I think we need to go back to them and ask how are you going to take this going forward? Because there doesn't seem to be an answer on how you're going to take this going forward, rather than we don't know who's going to run it. It really doesn't matter who's going to run it. The problem is the same with development. We're not going to have SIL until there's a made Buckinghamshire plan. It was suggested that it should have been in the Vale plan, wasn't taken up, and for whatever reason they decided. So I do think we do need to go back to them and say, okay, thank you for where you've got to, but how are you going to take this forward? Because the questions are the same, irrespective of whatever name, the health authority. And the one question which I do think additional we need to ask is how we weather-proof this against changes in the NHS names, because we've seen locally that was a reason cited for the money not going to the Maysill Health Centre in the Section 106. We could do that.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sutcliffe. I mean, the big problem we've got at the moment, as we know, is that we've got almost 1,000 houses coming on stream, including St Rumbold's, Osier Way and then Morton Road Phase 3. Going by the county guidelines, that's 2.4 people per house. That's 2,400 residents with not a penny towards healthcare provisions through developer agreements. Councillor White, thank you for being with us this evening, Warren.
Thank you, Chairman. Just really wanted to chip in that I think we need to be cautious that Buckinghamshire Council isn't the health planning authority, it is the CCG and it is the NHS. So we just need to be careful that we're not provoking Buckinghamshire Council for something that's well outside their control. And this committee and the full council will be well aware of updates I've given over the last 2 years of work I've been doing, trying to hold NHS England and CCG to account. They have abysmally failed to plan for primary care facilities in North Wales. And the CCG and NHS England seem very good at ducking the issue. I think it's a tad naive to just think it's Section 106 that delivers health growth, because it doesn't. And you can only have SIL with health provisions if the CCG and NHS England give you the evidence to put it into SIL. So SIL is not the automatic answer. So I think we need to just understand the bigger context and how healthcare planning operates. I think we need to hold NHS to account because they have failed us year in, year out on providing provision for North Wales. Same for Aylesbury, same for Windsor, same for Buckingham. And also there have been some interesting issues with Princes Risborough, which I recall having very confrontational meetings with the CCG and NHS when I had to do this role as Cabinet for Planning. So I think we need to, as a council, keep CCG and NHS's feet to the fire and assist the Buckinghamshire Council in doing that rather than berating them, because we all want the same thing, which is healthcare provision for residents.
Thank you. Do you want to come back?
Yeah, I thank Councillor White for his contribution. He's right in main parts in the sense that the health authority are failing, but the plan that we wrote in conjunction with them. Maybe what we should be doing is taking this question about holding the health authority to account. If it isn't a planning issue, it's clearly a health provision issue, and maybe we should be doing some work on this and then going to a future health and scrutiny meeting and raising it as a public issue of concern, because it is the HASC which will ask the authority such questions, and it's not a really good chairman, HASC, I must say. And so I think I would suggest listening to what Councillor White said, that maybe the dual approach is appropriate. A question about how they're going to take it forward, and a question to the Health and Scrutiny Committee, which a public question can be drafted and sent to the clerk of the committee, and a member of the council has the right to go and speak in the public session. And it would be, I can imagine, gratefully received by all, because I don't think us in this room are the only people concerned about these matters.
Thank you both, our Shire Councillors, for that. That will be taken on board. Item 7.2, to receive and discuss an email from Buckinghamshire Council Transport Strategy Officer on the A421 corridor. Again, this is something you've been pursuing, Councillor Thutchbury.
And just to say, Chairman, I did go to the office and ask what could be given in detail to the town council, and I got them to check out what the council were able to release, because though one could be privileged enough to hear the conversation, councillor, it's evident that these issues go beyond that, and with the town plan and everything else, what it is only there's no decisions been taken at this point. It is just a scoping conversation about what's possible. It's meant to be an interactive conversation, and the clues I've got from officers is that they have every intention of interacting with the town council and taking their views on board, along with the views of the Buckinghamshire councillors who clearly have had advance notice of this. I don't think we should start hairs running. I don't think we should start saying this is what will happen and won't happen, because this is a preliminary position. Clearly, as it goes forward, it may be something that seems appropriate to me to be something that is taken through in conjunction with the town plan and work through with that in referring back to this committee as and when appropriate, so that it can be discussed in a level conversation with frightening nobody, and the detail can be caught, and from this committee through the town clerk, who is in correspondence, as you see, with the officer team, to discuss through yourself, Chairman, and the town clerk, how best that meeting can be arranged. I think it would be better to be done with an open meeting as the Buckingham neighbourhood plan for all members to attend, in a proper measured thing, so the conversation can be full, frank, and everything, without saying things that might be going to happen, might not going to happen, and then worry people unduly about, which is just a preliminary proposal. Is that a reasonable way of going forward?
Yeah, if I could add to that, I sent around this morning a document which I was involved in 15 years ago when I was chairman of the Thornborough Parish Council. And we drew up a route to avoid the current A421 and to dual it. It would go from Wattle Dump roundabout, skirt around Great Horwood, and eventually come in at the bottom of the Tindrick bypass. Could I ask that we send that document, which is in the public domain through Thornborough Parish Council's own archives, that we send this to the working group, which Si Crane is heading, the Senior Transport Officer, and just do that as part of Buckingham's input?
Yeah.
Councillor White?
I'm glad you raised that, because over the weekend I did actually dig out my copy of that very report. And I was going to ask the authors if I could actually use that, because it has some interesting stuff in it which would help the debate.
Yes, I did check with Thornborough Parish Council. They're happy for us to use it in any way, because it's to their benefit as well. So, Carolyn.
Can I just ask, it talks about this scoping report and looking at issues and options in this particular area, but they also mention that the work, 2 regional studies are being carried out by National Highways and England's economic heartlands. So I would hope that there is some communication between these bodies. Do we know how much liaison there is actually? Because it seems to me that there could be an enormous amount of work going on here, which is wasted.
Are you going to go on, or am I?
Councillor Stuck first.
This is something which was, if my memory of the conversation I've had is correct, this is something what was asked to be looked at from those agencies. You will be aware the government took the decision to walk away from the expressway, and this is rather similar to that paperwork and those discussions that we were having, which was 2013-14, I think, when I remember Thornborough presenting we looked at that in 2014. So I think they are in it, but what they haven't actually done anything is like, this is going to happen. It's like most of these things that they're going to have a discussion about how it would and how it would work along the route. So this is our time to be involved, and presumably a government, or the government of the day, will take a decision on pursuing this as an alternative, because there is a question to be answered, which government recognise, with the fact that with the cancelling of the expressway, which was the arterial option, that then brings back the fact that there's a simple economic case to want to improve road connectivity to the coast and to the M40. So I think that's roughly where they are. I've seen nothing that says that they've committed to this and that they've agreed any scheme and that there's any money for it. But those of us who have seen lots of these things, there's always years of discussion. And then at some point, it will catalyst around an idea.
Just to be clear, when the East West Expressway was cancelled, the ministry did say that they recognised how congested the A421 was, and they would be looking at ways of improving it, i.e. dualling it or even just moving it as we're suggesting there. And just to be clear, the Thornbrook project was in 2007, much further back than we
I thought it was,
September 2007. So,
I do
so
remember.
is everyone happy? We pass that on then. Thank you very much again.
Could I just ask through you, Chairman, that we give Councillor White, if it's because he was going to look at that, so he had access to it, and that we as members.
He has got it.
You've got it, Warren. That's good.
I did circulate it to all members this
Yeah,
morning.
well, I haven't read that and reading something else, but I do think we do need to learn from what was done in there, because clearly there was quite a lot of investment put in. As you probably would know, because you were on Thornbrook Parish Council at the time.
£250 on commissioning that.
No, that wouldn't be £250, would it?
To be absolutely clear, John Williams, who had Thornborough Man at that time, he did pay the bulk of the cost because it would affect him as well. He's also a local estate agent at the time. So, thank you very much for that. Can we move on to item 8, action reports? There's a few things on there. The first one I'm going to start with is speed limit Tindrick Road. Members who were here will recall last Monday, we noted that 2 of the Shire councillors had jumped the gun over the Tindrick Road speed limit. It was not yet been announced. It will not be announced before the 21st of June, because when the order was declared, there is a 6-week period from April the 1st for anyone who wishes to challenge it in the High Court. On the overview on the county site, it only has Buckingham Ring Road. It doesn't mention Tindrick Road, so that's something that we've got to look into. We did ask at that meeting, the council asked the 2 Shire councillors involved who are not here, if they withdraw the posting they put on Buckingham What Matters Facebook, and also we asked for an apology because they'd done this without any reference to anybody else, including Buckingham Town Council. So that's just really a matter for report. The town clerk was writing to them. We haven't heard a response yet. Councillor White?
Just like to take the opportunity to maybe correct the record, because I don't believe they did jump the gun. Buckinghamshire Council issued the wrong data and changed it without telling anyone. So it might just be useful for public record.
Yeah, but as I
They acted
said,
in good faith.
but they immediately took it down again. That was
Okay,
reported.
so I don't think that's jumping the gun, that's just using the information that Buckinghamshire Council issued, but then reissued. So I believe that the councillors did make that clear.
Right. Councillor Stutchby?
Yeah, thank you for contributions. The decision notice for this was on the 13th of April, a bit preoccupied on the 13th of April, as it was 2 things. One, funeral of my brother-in-law, and the fact that it was my birthday, so I was a bit preoccupied that day. And the decision notice was a deferral notice, which was signed by the leader of the council. So that was available, and so I wrote to the officer to clarify, because nothing, the deferral notice and the post didn't make sense. And so there was, for a limited amount of time, some information on the website which was taken down after I pointed out that it was incorrect. And I think they had seen the notice, it was added into a collection of notices, possible 30 mile an hour, but it had never got agreed that I believe that what will happen is they're looking at it still in conjunction. So while they're still looking at it, that's a positive thing. Let's hope that when they come back, it's a decision which is agreeable to everybody. And let's hope when it comes back, we can all move forward together. And having attended the site meeting with good Sal's Mayor and Vice Chair Planning and many others, when we met on site to discuss this, I think it'd be good if we move as one on this, especially as it's in the name, an ambition of this authority, an ambition of previous councillors and previous such and such, that we move forward together and see this, if it's positive or negative, we act as one, so that we have a single voice on this, with no deviation. But I don't think there's anybody who wishes not to see a 30-mile-an-hour limit on the Tingit Road. I've not seen anybody say that. And I think we just move together on one. I wouldn't wish to do that. Let's hope that next time there's an announcement on this, it is as one.
Thank you, Councillor Stutchling. Just to be clear, that although the posts that it's a ring road, which we don't have, we have a bypass, it is not the whole bypass, it is purely the Tidgwick Road roundabout and the approaches to it, including coming out of the cemetery. We're going to immediately come across a 30-mile-an-hour sign. If it goes through.
At the moment, you get 30-mile-an-hour sign as you go.
Right. Have to turn that one round. We had a tree meeting, which is on the agenda tonight. Osier Way on page 2, Town Clerk was requested further discussions on the section 106 terms of Osier Way, and this is in relation to health provisions concerningly the draft agreement of section 106 for Osier Way between families and Waits Builders, and Arthur Family, others and Waits Builders, was published on the website on May the 16th, and there's no mention of health. It's not yet signed, and so one of our great concerns now is that there is a big urgency about this before it's signed, that we do have a say. We were promised we would have involvement in any section 106 agreements regarding Buckingham. Signally hasn't happened here. Councillor Touchbury.
I think this is not wholly Buckinghamshire Council's problem. You'll see the notes of the meeting I provided that I had with the developer, which they've seen. It doesn't appear that they're particularly keen to cooperate with either Buckinghamshire Council or us or the Town Council. That withstanding, I think we need to write to the planning authority and say that we are concerned that there's been a draft document drafted, that there has been no conversation with the Town Council. There may have been a conversation with myself, and there may have been conversation with other members. I cannot speak for them in the ward. I have met the officer dealing with this, and I've had several meetings expressing my views and my hopes and aspirations, but I'm not Buckingham Town Council. So I think Buckingham Town Council need to ask them to not sign anything until such time as there has been a conversation, because there's not only just the health provision, there's also the theoretical way that the contributions are going to be allocated to from the section 106. There's also the issues which I don't think have been truly addressed to do with cognitivity and the bypass. And there's also the issues to do with understanding fully the issues around education and many other things. It just seemed somewhat regrettable that we have not been contacted, because I had made this information available to the town clerk. I can only imagine he hasn't had a response to his correspondence, and that in itself is not where we need to be. We need to be moving together and trying to make sure that if the developer is not minded to, within the legal terms, to be cooperative with us, at least we have a site. And my last correspondence on this, wearing a different hat, was his, again, asking that Buckingham Town Council is consulted. I can't speak for the Town Council.
Thank you. Well, the town clerk does have us in hand as far as we're aware. He's on leave today, Claire.
Yeah, I did have an email from him this evening. He said that he's got nothing to update on this. It's obviously working on.
Okay, if you could impress on him tomorrow the urgency of this, now that the draft agreement has appeared on the planning portal. You know, for all we know, it's been signed today. We don't know, but we do need to get in very quickly. Thank you very much. Catherine, you want to add on that?
Well, I was going to, after I've done the responses in draft on tonight's meeting, I was going to summarise the main points and point out anything that we're concerned about.
Okay,
And
so
then Paul had it first.
you had a double whammy from both sides. Thank you very much. Excellent. The only other thing I'll raise on the action list is the post box to St Rumbold's Fields. You know, we had a very successful campaign, radio and newspapers. It's all down to Louise Stubbs. She masterminded this, so I think she should be congratulated. She took the photographs and she sent it to everybody. Robin?
Congratulations all round, really. It was good that we decided to publicise this at the last meeting, and through your good self and officers that we managed to achieve that. Because it was regrettable, wasn't it? The attitude that was being expressed about that a new community in Buckingham shouldn't have the quality of a post box. So phone box, they went years ago, didn't they? But a post box. So I think that that's it, and what we look forward to it coming, and whoever she or he is mayor, we can perhaps cut a ribbon around the post box. And I think
Post a letter.
and we can even post a letter to ourselves.
We can afford the stamp.
If we can afford the stamp. Maybe we could set aside something in the precept to cover the cost of the stamp. But I do think, if nothing, just to send a letter of thanks to the post office in their post box.
Without a stamp on.
And congratulations all round.
We have actually already done that, Robin, so thank you very much.
But I was thinking about using the actual.
Yeah, we did an email. So. Is anyone else, anything on the action list? I think the other stuff on there is coming up on the agenda tonight. Thank you for that. Received a response on the cycle path at St Rumbold's Fields. Catherine, is there something you'd like to say on this? We've got the correspondence here.
Yes. It's a long time since I did this again. Because Councillor Stutchbury's working hard on this as well.
Yeah.
But we have got. It says they're talking about the path across St Rumbold's Field, which at the moment is intended to be gravel. Notwithstanding, the council is aware of a local desire for this path to be constructed with a hard surface. You bet there is. It's going to lead to a cycleway. You can't have a gravel path that's going to actually connect with a proper cycleway. And never mind the people who've got prams and luggage and things like that. So, as a result, discussions are taking place to explore whether an alternative surface can be provided. I think it's progress, but I'm not entirely sure.
Claire.
Did have an informal meeting with the developer, and their intention is to put a hard surface in.
Excellent.
If I get that in writing, that's what I said.
So for the benefit of members of the public, Claire is our deputy town clerk. So thank you. Anything on that, or looks like Robin, you want to say something?
I think we do need to, because there's 3 separate payments within the section 106. I understand that the first payment had been made. The second payment was in transit, and the third payment had to be made because it was within the section 106. When I last looked from memory, I haven't got it in front of me, was that this would be delivered by the council. I have been to Cabinet and asked questions, and I have done written questions on this, which generated, and I have met officers about this. I cannot stress strongly enough that the cycleway route is so important to children being able to access school, as we all know, and this pathway, I'm encouraged that the developer has recognised that it's going to be a footpath. They recognised that some years ago, and there is correspondence where it was suggested in earlier documents that it would have been a heavy path. The one thing which I had picked up,
It started out as a lone path.
yeah, a mown path. The one thing that they had said to me in correspondence, which I think is a reasonable thing for them to say, was that they were in talks with archaeology in conjunction with this, because it is an archaeological site, and whatever path they put in they didn't want it to in any way interfere with the archaeology which lays under. So it's an interesting report if anyone wants to read it. But so we are winning slowly.
Yeah.
But if that children don't get access to school by this path, we'll have lots more traffic going down
And it's
the road.
the only connection with the scenic railway before. It's across this, because if you go further down, you're into Cook Road.
And everybody considered this, didn't they, when we asked for it back in 2016 or 2015, and we also focused on this very fact when we were putting together the Buckingham Neighbourhood Plan, which included that area of ground into it for future development. So it's not like we it's a sudden change, and I know the planning authority has changed, but I think we need to. I will personally be keeping on this, but I do think as a town council we do need to focus on getting some correspondence between the two parties, assuring us of what the deputy town clerks informed us of their good intentions to put a path in light of the archaeological questions.
Thank you very much. We've also heard from Claire, things are now moving, so that is very good news. Right, planning applications, not a huge amount tonight, but we start off with on number 1, Tree Fields. This is end of a row of terraces on the bank above the skate park. It's a household application for a single-storey rear glazed extension and a new window in the entrance hall. I hope you've all read Catherine's report on that. Anyone got any comments I'd like to make?
No comments from us.
Buckingham Society quite for them. So is everyone happy?
I can't see any issues with it.
Good. Fine. So that one we're happy with. Incidentally, all of them except Market Square have had planning notices put up, so everybody is aware of these. The second one is number 4 Lime Avenue, which is on Badgers. And it's an application for conversion of a garage, a remarkably narrow garage, into a habitable room and replace the garage door with a window. There's no more bedrooms involved, but there is obviously the loss of 1 parking space. And one thing we don't want is road parking in that area, because it's at the entrance to that Lime Avenue cul-de-sac, which has got quite a lot of roads off it. Anyone got any comments on this?
Not really, although it does look as if the garage couldn't have been used for present day cars anyway.
Yeah. Certainly one of the 2 cars parked outside and you've got it in there.
Exactly.
Was
Fran.
the garage built when the house was built, or is that
Yes.
that's not an additional one? It doesn't. Yeah, as said before, it doesn't look like it's much use for cars at the moment. So, and they have room for probably a 3rd car on that hard standing they've got there in the photo. I can't see any issues with it.
Is everyone happy with that one? Thank you very much. Number 3, 138 Morton Road. This is a corner plot, householder application for demolition of existing single-storey brick garage and erection of 2-storey side extension. It's quite a big work, but as you'll see from Catherine's notes, this is to accommodate another part of the family. The style is very much the same as what's there at the moment. In fact, it is from what we've been looking at, an improvement on what's there now. So, any comments?
No.
Everyone happy? My goodness, we'll be home. Thank you very much. So that one's okay. Number 4, Lace Hill Manor Care Home up on Lace Hill Needlepin Way. This is the display of 4 individual aluminium signs. They're not illuminated. I think someone said at the planning meeting this afternoon, they're what we could describe as very tasteful. There's already the walls and fences to put them on. So, anyone have any feelings on that?
Makes sense.
Yes. Okay, we're happy with that. Number 5 is Winner in Stratford Road. This is one of 5 houses that are off the lay-by at the top of Stratford Road. they have what's called a Banbury type of conservatory. And they want to demolish that and put a single-storey extension in its place. As Catherine points out, there have been 5 previous applications on this site, 2 of them not carried through. Doesn't overlook anyone. And again, any feelings on this?
No objections.
No.
No. Thank you very much. Right. Gosh, what are you doing?
Is this a report?
Can we get the rest of the meeting finished
Right,
before
I
Robin
think-
gets back in?
The next 2 can be taken together. This is 11 Market Square. And what it is basically about is that Specsavers are going to come to Buckingham. The nearest branch at the moment is in Bicester. So they're going to take over the banking hall of what was Barclays, the alterations to the shop front, new customer entrance, air conditioning units on the roof. They're going to put 11 instead of the existing 5. And display of non-illuminated signs and non-illuminated hanging signs. No change of use because under the new regulations which came in 2020, the banking and medical and optical things are both Class E, so they don't need to apply for that. Karen.
It's really good to see the building being put to good use, we hope. There was a comment from one of our group that said, rather alarmed at seeing 11 condensing units replacing 5, and how visible would they be on the roof? It's not entirely clear from the plans exactly how they will impinge on the street scene. But apart from that comment that was made, we have no objections, obviously.
So Catherine prepared a report for us. Do you have any
Well,
comment on that?
I think that running each consulting room with its own air conditioning, right?
Yeah.
They look slightly smaller than the existing units, and you don't really notice the existing ones. Slight parapet around the roof.
I think that was the general feeling, but it was just sort of numbers, I think.
It did concern
Perhaps.
me that there's only one consulting room with level access.
Yeah.
So they're taking up so much of the ground floor with the shop.
Yes.
if you
Yeah.
like.
Yes.
Even the ones at the back of the building are upstairs, so I don't know whether members would like to have a little, have they 2 accessible rooms? Or, you know, it just struck me that a lot of people can meet on the elderly side.
It's a very good point.
Councillor Gage.
I take the point, but the main shop bit, which everybody would need to access, that's obviously accessible, isn't it? So, and I'm fairly confident that they would make arrangements for people with mobility issues to ensure that they can access the service required. You pre-book your appointments, and they would make sure that accessible consulting room was available if somebody needed it. They'll prioritise that for people who can't access the other facilities.
And you see, they've got this as a consulting room. They've got that as diagnostics unexplained. It seems to me that they could make a slight difference and make 2 consulting rooms on this level. Rearrange the shop bit towards the stairs.
I mean, their argument may be we are providing an accessible consulting room.
I mean, they're going to all the trouble of making an automatic door, because that door would be a struggle if you were with that.
Councillor Davis.
No, it's all right.
No, okay. What do members feel? Is it a?
Yeah. Let's use the building.
Do you want to mention maybe, the committee would like to see perhaps, another more accessible consulting room?
So we're only talking about internal partition itself.
Councillor White.
To be honest, I think that's very good, because it's obviously a state level building, there's not much you can do about that. And actually the vast majority of one-to-one consultations are actually in the shop floor. It's only once in a while you actually go into a consultation room to get your eyes tested. Pretty much everything else is done on the shop floor. So actually I'd hate to see more of the one-to-one stuff being moved at a higher level that only this is local authority.
Right. So you're saying members will leave it as it
Yeah,
is?
they're pretty good at this game.
Yeah, thank you for the comments, Catherine. So, amended plans, this is 45 Hare Close. Householder application for a single story and rear side extension and conversion of garage. This is slightly amended from what we approved, or we had no objection to before. This first came to us at the end of last year. We considered the amendments, first amendments on January 26th, but in the meantime, there was an objection from the next door neighbour, number 43, saying there's an overdevelopment of the site, it was too large, it was out of keeping of other properties, and he felt it was too close to his own property. But that comment was actually made before our last planning meeting. So at that time, the committee didn't take notice of it. So I don't know if at this stage we're happy just to approve these amended plans. It's a very slight change, mainly to parking, isn't it?
Yeah, just, they didn't provide a parking layout.
Yeah,
Now they have.
that was all it was. So we continue the same, no objections. Thank you. Finally, as far as the building applications are concerned, this is land off Osier Way. Now, this is not actually in our parish, this is Gorcott with Benborough. As you know, it's this odd triangle which goes through our industrial estate, follows the course of the river, the brook. It's erection of a building for flexible purpose, which includes industrial use, storage or distribution, along with offices, associated access, parking, landscaping, associated works. And it fills this little triangle right in front of the spice factory. It will be directly it's got two vertical entrances. One will be directly opposite the entrance to the 120 house eastern part of the Osier Way development, which has already been approved. 44 parking spaces. Travel plan, as Catherine noted, is not workable. Councillor Willett, first of all.
Thank you very much, Chairman. The only thing I would have hesitation on this one is that the declared failed road status on the top end. The road isn't fit for use, according to, I believe it was Buckinghamshire Council that said that. Another thing is the traffic from all the lorries. That would be a big concern going over Top Angel and also through the back entrance of Osier Way. But apart from that, that'd be something that I've raised last year. And also, I'd like to raise.
But that failed road has been repaired, isn't it now?
It's, from what I understand, no. I drove out across it this weekend, and it's very, very bumpy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. But that, of course, is Top Angel, not Osier Way, isn't it? Which again is where the failure is. It's just as Top Angel start, about to go into Osier Way. No. Councillor Stutch was saying no. Councillor Gately, you were next.
Yeah, thank you. From my point of view, this is on the industrial estate. We should be welcoming a further opportunity for this development and for employment opportunities. The fact that there's a planning permission granted for domestic dwellings so close, well, they would have been aware that they were on the edge of an industrial area, so be it.
Thank you. Councillor O'Donoghue.
Thank you, Chairman. I feel exactly the same as Margaret, that this is an industrial area. We've got to encourage business in the town, and that's included on the outskirts. And regardless of the housing that's been agreed, we need to be encouraging businesses.
Thank you. It's one of the good points actually is that the houses at the western end of this 120 houses are already that close to the spice factory,
Yeah.
so that won't be any different there. Councillor White.
Thank you, Chairman. As I already said, I welcome the positivity that someone wants to invest a significant amount of money in an industrial estate, and it's an appropriate use of that land. I think the only thing I would be very concerned about is the suggestion that this could be a BH use as well as business use. And I would urge the committee to consider declining the BH or objecting to BH, because that is warehousing and storage, which generates the most vehicular traffic. So if it was a business that was making things or creating things, that obviously has a certain amount of logistics. If this is actually a storage warehouse, then we're talking about a logistics type unit, which would be far better suited to the likes of Torstow, Milton Keynes, or Brackley, which is on major trunk roads and not in Buckingham. So the BH use is of significant concern to me, because it is a higher use transport generation.
Carolyn, from the Buckingham Society?
Yes, well, I certainly wanted to echo Warren's remarks there. And I noticed there's quite a full report from the economic team from Buckinghamshire Council, which evidence shows that the need for sites is to support small SMEs, which is both for very small, from 45 square meters to 235 square meters, plus larger spaces of around 1,800 to 2,800 square meters. This building is actually, as it stands and proposed, 3,774 square meters. So it seems to us really that the business use we fully support, but it is small SMEs and slightly larger spaces that has the greatest need, in particular in Buckingham, in the northern half of Bucks, and certainly not B8 storage and distribution, which really I think would impinge on residential amenity quite severely.
Thank you. Councillor White.
Sorry, I forgot to add, the issue with BA is also, it's a very small job creator, because it is it's basically a space to store stuff, not to actually create jobs. So if we want to create local jobs and encourage local jobs, then the BA use should really be discouraged. And it should be noted actually that the size doesn't worry me, because a lot of businesses are looking for this type of unit, but they're having to go to either Aylesbury or Silverstone. It would be great if we could have this size business here in Buckingham to create local jobs.
But not storage and
Yeah,
Can I just
please,
can I just add that there's also some, it's not going to stop it happening, but there is currently apparently sewage pipes underneath this site, and Anglia Water would need to produce and get the developer to produce quite a lot of mitigation in order to make it work. And there is also an ecology question on biodiversity net gain. So there's a lot of work to be done here, and I would suggest that, despite the fact that it's not in the parish of Buckingham, that those disadvantages could be much easier overcome with a smaller unit.
Thank you. If I could take my chairman's hat off and have a say about it, I agree with Margaret. This is our industrial estate. This land is earmarked for industrial use. NATCO owns the land, and NATCO is also the funder of the Human Capability Foundation, which this building is going to be for. It's a charity. In fact, as Catherine said, 2 of the trustees are employees of NATCO Foods. So it is going to be connected with NATCO Foods in every way. And the fact there's 44 parking spaces would suggest to me there's quite a number of employees they're going to have. Others may not have cars and may use whatever transport they can. But that's my feeling. We have lost one of our industrial sites, as you know. And, I think Buckingham needs these. We keep banging on about, where are people, all these new estates going to work. Well, here is a wonderful chance for people from Osie Way to maybe get a job right literally on their own doorsteps. That's my feeling.
But not B8.
We did say at the planning meeting this afternoon, we thought this might have a healthy debate, this plan. Of course, what we haven't heard from yet is what Gorkut's reaction is, because it's within Gorkut and Lemborough Parish. They will, of course, be eventually getting the next part, phase 2 of the Osie Way development between this and the village. The other point, of course, is there's continuing joining up of Buckingham and Gorka, as happened between Buckingham and Maids Morton. So, any other feelings? Could we have a proposal then about how we treat this?
Well, propose that we support it, but with the rider that it's for light industrial or general industry, not storage and distribution.
Thank you. Go seconder for that. Councillor Davis. Thank you. We'll put to there then. All those in favour of the
Record that I should abstain.
right, okay. All those in favour?
Seven.
7 and 1 abstention. And Councillor O'Donoghue, of course, although she's not voting on this. Thank you, Lisa, for your input. There was a number of tree applications, all that were dealt with by email, as we normally do. Does anyone have any comments on those? I think most of the ones we saw were, the last two certainly, was Neil Passmore oversaw from Buckinghamshire County Council. Item 10, planning decisions. For once, everything that we didn't object to or opposed happened. One of them that we had not objected to was 12 Bobnham Close, and we'd added that we would like to see electric vehicle charging points, water recycling and solar panels. Now, we've had a reply back from the case officer who says that these cannot be mandated by us. This is not a policy requirement for extensions or alterations to existing dwellings, although it can be attached to new buildings. So this is something, again, we're going to look at in our new neighbourhood plan and see if we cannot mandate this for all developments, whether they're new or extensions. But at the moment, there's nothing set in stone about that. Deerfield Close, we objected to. 23 Deerfield Close, and that was refused as being out of character, harmful to the character of the neighbourhood and overbearing.
And a reapplication of right.
All right, right. I think from what you said, they're making it a foot shorter. I mean, just short. So we've got to go back to Imperial now then. And then 12 to 13 markets, for which we exercised a lot of time on. That was some out of time to determine. We opposed that one. An appeal 10-2 been lodged against refusal of the dry cleaners and hot food takeaway at 19 Bridge Street. We put a very reasoned objection on the 22nd of March 2021 to Buckinghamshire Planning. Does anyone have anything they'd rather add? It's on the agenda, all our objections and the reasons for refusal. Are we happy that we send those to the planning inspector?
We don't need to, because anything that we have lodged at county
Right.
will be automatically included in this.
Good. So there's nothing anyone wishes to add. Thank you very much. Buckinghamshire Council matters. To receive news of Buckinghamshire Council, new documents, other information from council members present. And Councillor Stutchbury has also recommended the following responses to questions from Buckinghamshire Council meeting on the 26th of April. They're all there for members' information, but we have two Shire councillors here tonight. Who would like to start, Robin?
Yeah, just briefly, because of the other stuff on the agenda, Chairman. Just to say that I'm going to Cabinet tomorrow to ask about the very issues in response to the written question regards to councillors' involvement in a future Buckinghamshire plan. I'm concerned to see how that's going to go forward and to ascertain how the council will be taking that forward with the full involvement of all the Buckinghamshire councillors, their particular roles, because they've all got a particular interest in their own areas. And that will be tomorrow. I'll leave all the other stuff before council.
Thank you. Councillor White.
I think you've covered most of the issues I was going to raise, apart from this add on the design guide stuff. I was a bit concerned to hear that there was a lack of understanding about the whole design guide process, because I did brief town council over a year ago about that. There's this dedicated website called Bucks.place. And it was when I was cabinet with the planning that I actually instigated the government-funded project for Buckinghamshire and Design Guide and Design Code. And indeed, Buckingham was one of the highest rated places for submitting ideas to Bucks.place. So there seems to be a disconnect between what happened at the start of the project and what happened at the end of the project. So if someone would like to share with me at some point after the meeting, I'd be glad to take that back, because we made a really good start on that project, and I think it's not continuing in the way that we instigated.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I think we will come on to that with the report on the town and parish council quarterly meetings. Now, this was actually raised, so we'll get on to that in a moment. Thank you. Does anyone have any questions of our future art councillors present? No, thank you. Thank you for that. To receive notice of a meeting held on the 19th of May, hosted by Customer Services. When was that?
Appendix L.
That was where there was a survey about whether we got feedback from residents on how easy they found the website to use.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. Robin?
I didn't know whether you were going to go through some of those. You can move on if you wish, but it'd be interesting for members to note the response in regards to the skate park, and it would be, and the fact that that project's still progressing and likely to be at the end of the year now, because it is something that reciprocally comes up at council. There is some information which I think we don't need to talk about, but I think members should read about the statistics around calling and how that works. There's a question about, when parish or town calls an application in, whether when it goes to council, it doesn't go to council. I think members should read that and then come back if they wish to. And there was the piece about trees from Councillor Strachan. I think we should look at again and then come back if we need to do anything. And of course, now Councillor Strachan will be answering the next question, which is now he's doing planning again, which he did historically, I believe. Did he not, Warren, at the district? So he'll be doing the statistics and stuff. You got the facts from Councillor Williams. So I think that all those things are things we need to monitor. But I think that we do need to stay interested in the skate park in the sense, and maybe can I ask from you, Chairman, that we forward that response to the Environment Committee, who may want to carry on a further discussion with that because of the issues it raised and the unfortunate nature of it being. The one thing which I was disappointed in that response, but that Councillor Harris didn't say, yes, I will be inviting the mayor, even though I put it in the response, he didn't respond to me. I don't know whether he knows we have a mayor of Buckingham, and I don't know where he felt that, because when that project first was started, I remember standing with the late Headley Cad some years ago when it was first cited, and of course Paul Headley's not with us anymore, and I think he was the county member at the time, and so that shows you how long ago it was. So I think we just need to keep an eye on that. And the other thing is we need to get a definite time when they're going to start that, because we will be having a skateboarding event in the Fringe, and it would be really unfortunate if that's the week that they start the works, because the skateboarding event, which is being organised, I think today, would be unfortunate.
Thank you. Councillor Gately? Oh,
To make you aware, we've got 2 members of the public waiting in the waiting room.
right. This is.
I don't know, they're not giving me any information.
Was it Richard?
A CF iPhone and a Karen's Air iPad.
Right. Right. There was only one that we said we'd admit later if he came
No,
late.
it's not the same person.
No. So
You're right for me to admit them, but me them or
yeah, that we've had the public session already. Is that with members' agreement?
Chairman, we did say, didn't we, that we'd admit them
No, we admit the person who was trying to get on,
Yeah.
that's what we agreed, but these are different people. And they're coming into the meeting an hour and 10 minutes after it started. It's up to members, but
I'm suggesting, because it's a public meeting, if they're right in person, then let the member not allow them to speak, then maybe that would be the same principle, that they would be allowed in if they want to watch, but to not participate.
yeah,
If they don't speak, then that's only what is in there.
yeah, so we did that for the person who we knew was trying to get in, but
Lisa,
We don't
Lisa's
actually
got her
know
hand
if
up.
so we
one of
can,
these is not that person.
so Lisa?
Thank you, Chairman. We're discussing the public session thing. I know that you're discussing that. I'll be quite happy to let them in if I was allowed to vote, but I'm not. But I was going to comment on the skate park. So did you want to deal with the public session bit first, and then I'll come back on the skate park thing?
Okay, so is everyone happy? We admit them to the public session, but they can't speak. Is that all agreed?
Yeah.
Thank you.
We'll let them speak, but
Unless you can find out whether one of them was the gentleman.
to put an amendment that want to establish why they're here, we discuss whether we let
Well,
them
there's
speak.
I think we need to find out what they want to say.
That's not
That's
the way it
letting them
works.
speak, isn't it?
They should have been here at 7 o'clock if they on 7 if they wanted to speak in the public session. We've never done this before.
Oh, okay.
So we admit them to the session, but they can't speak. Thank you.
I have admitted them, they haven't got their cameras on, and so I'll keep them muted.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, I understand 2 members of the public have joined us. You're welcome to follow proceedings, but you won't be able to speak tonight as we have the public session at 7 o'clock. Thank you. Back to Councillor O'Donoghue.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, I've got massive concerns about the skate park, the delay of it. I just think it's quite choice that we've been saying for years that the skate park gets flooded. We've had photographs of it. We got told it's not a problem when Camberford Court was getting built. And time again, we've been told it's not a problem. We can have these housing here. We can do this. We can do that. And as soon as we say we'd like a new skate park, suddenly it's a massive issue that they've got to find somewhere for the runoff to go. And I just find that incredible that it was Amanda and myself who spoke to young people. It must be 8-9 years ago now. And they're adults, like they're adulting with children of their own. And it's like, how much longer do kids have to wait for this? It's just ridiculous. So I think we need to find out, like that it said in the paperwork, the materials are going to be an issue with the area flooding. And so what are the materials? Because at the moment it's concrete. So, you know, what I think we need a lot more information. We've not had sight of the design. We've not had somebody at the table. I think we need to find out a lot more.
Yeah, thank you, Lisa. If we could just let the Deputy Town Clerk come back on this.
Specifically, sorry,
Yeah.
I was trying to mute somebody.
Yeah, Lisa was saying about, the slow progress of it. Have we got the update at the moment? I know we did suspend it, didn't we, last year, because it would have been happening during the summer period, they could have used it. But,
We did, and then I understand that there were issues with it happening over winter. I'm not aware of any updates, so I can definitely find out.
right, thank you very much. Councillor Stutchby, then Councillor Gavin.
Just to reassure Councillor Donoghue, the office is as frustrated as everybody else who's doing this project. He really wanted to bring the project forward. It was the Environment Agency that raised the concerns, and the local authority then has to address those concerns. Now, quite why they haven't chose to address them and why the delay has been is a reasonable thing. But I have been, as you can see, not neglecting the ability to put these questions into the public, because I think that it's fair enough having an email correspondent saying he or she said A to B, but this is the response from the cabinet member, which is a public response within the minutes of the council. So it is a public record, and it states clearly that. But it did stay further at the bottom about their keenness to for the for the community and politicians who have been involved in the process for there to be further involved. So I think that would have been drafted. So I think the fact that they want us to be further involved, I don't think it's unreasonable, as Councillor Donoghue suggests, that we go back to them again in twofold, just to make sure that the summer date they're talking about isn't the fringe, and if they are talking about a date, if it is the summer holidays, which I do know Councillor Donoghue raised those questions before, when it was likely to be built, before the Environment Agency raised the concerns which delayed it, not the officer not taking it forward. But I do know the officer's keen as much to get this built.
Thank you, Councillor Gately.
Thank you. I have to admit being very confused about this, because about a year ago we were told it was going to happen over the summer months, and it was partly from this council suggesting it shouldn't happen at that point. And at that stage, the Environment Agency didn't seem to have any problem with it going ahead. And now, I mean, at what point did the Environment Agency realise that this was going to exacerbate the flooding issue there? And if the work had gone ahead as proposed last summer, would the Environment Agency have then said this shouldn't have happened, tear it up?
Councillor Donoghue.
Thank you. If I can come back on Councillor Stutchby, I'm not annoyed at the officers, and I'm not upset that the question was asked. I think it was right that Councillor Stutchby asked it, and it's a shame that we've not been kept up to date ourselves as a town council. The only way that we've got this information is because Robin has asked for it. So yeah, I'm not annoyed at any officers. I just, as Councillor Gately said, you know, it's the lateness of this all now happening with the Environment Agency, and being told that now that it floods, which we've known for years, it's an issue, and it hasn't been an issue for years.
Thank you. Councillor Stutchby.
Just come back one last time. I'm sorry, Lisa, what was the issue of the flooding and the Environment Agency came out rather, originally it was getting a contractor to do it within the time frame. When they were doing the work, then I believe the Environment Agency, because normal consultation raised concerns, the officer has been trying to address and mitigate those concerns from my memory of correspondence, is to find somewhere where they can alleviate the water from this site. They've got to offset it. I think this is a case of perhaps we all know it floods, and perhaps as local people we would consider that was perhaps excessive. Although the Environment Agency aren't all bad, because they were out surveying the river the other day when I was talking to them, and they surveyed all the trees in the river. So, and we want them removed. So I was talking to the enforcement officer the other day. So I think, you know, they're not all bad, they're not all good, but I will go back to the officer politely and see where it goes. But I'm very conscious I don't want to in any way say anything, because I know the officers is frustrated that he hasn't delivered this project, because it's something that he wants to do. I know the cabinet member wants to deliver this project. I'm sure he's looking forward to getting on a skateboard there and going around it with me. I'll offer an opportunity for him to do that. I doubt if he'll take it up. But,
thank you very much for that. Thank you for everyone on that. And that takes us to, yeah, thank you. We covered the notes. Thank you very much, Catherine, for the notes for the customer services meeting. A lot of issues we've gone through that day with Mr. Boskins. They are going to plan more of those, because they really want to keep us more in the loop, which is already something, an improvement over what has been going on. Then there's a list, item 11.3, Catherine's appended a list of proposed and attend call-in applications. That's just for note, isn't it?
Yes, it's just that informed.
Thank you very much. That takes us up to item 12, which is the Town and Parish Council quarterly planning meeting. Catherine again has done a very good report. You'll see page 125. She's also attached the slides. Probably the most interesting one to us is the Grendon Underwood prison application. It's going to be the biggest prison in Europe. It was turned down by Buckinghamshire Council, refused at committee on the 24th of March as being an unsustainable location, impact to heritage assets, including the North Bucks Historic Parkland, ecology issues, harmful landscape, loss of playing fields, and highway problems. The latest news is that the Ministry of Justice is going to appeal that refusal. So, Robin, maybe you have some news on that?
No news on it. I expected that to be the case. Only to say that I hope that when they do build the application, they take a little bit more diligence over looking where it is, because my late wife worked at Grendon Prison for some time, so I've got a really reasonable understanding of the layout of the prison. And not that I've been in there, but I have actually been in there, not as a customer, obviously. That's a big disappointment. But it appears that the site will prevent their actual extension, which prevents access to their market gardens and food production unit, which is adjacent to it. Which I thought when I looked at it was and I'm not like commenting on it. It's now in a legal process. I just thought the application didn't cater, very well for what it already knew. I did also talk about it with the previous governor, who was a friend of mine in the town, which I Margaret Gately, who was a colleague of hers the other day, when we were at a music event, but he was interested about it, and he said that he thought that would happen. He's been proved right.
Yeah, I mean, the local residents, for them, the horror story is they've got all the HS2 problems at the moment, then the possibility of this as well is absolutely overlooming, and they're terrified that the ministry will just try and pull away and get this approved. But,
it'd be worth asking Councillor White.
He's not here now.
He's not here, because it was it would have been supported by as he was a previous cabinet member, it would have obviously been supported by the council and the legal decisions. I know it's not an award, and I know that it's not something we'll discuss, and it's going to be in a legal framework now anyway. Should we just not write to Buckinghamshire Council just to understand the framework of it? Because one of the things which was never discussed in it was going to provide 2,000 jobs, and or some little 200 jobs, some because the amount of people that are going to work there. So, and also there's no guarantee the government will be here to see it being built in case. So, but I think we should write to them and ask them to understand what it is, because we'll learn about that in case we ever have anything similar within Buckingham, how they deal with it, and what would be their position if it is going to appeal. Just for knowledge, because if we have something contentious in Buckingham similar, we'll learn how it's dealt with.
Would it not be better to wait until we know if the minister's going to appeal or not? Otherwise, we're using staff time and resources.
Yes, okay, wait. You suggested it was.
No, I think I've heard that they are considering appealing.
I'd heard that they were appealing.
Yes,
Yeah.
so did I.
Yeah, I haven't seen it.
Must be an inside job then.
But if it's certainly what Robin's suggesting, if and when they appeal, then we write them off of Buckinghamshire Council our support and get the facts, as you say.
We don't comment on them, we need to know that.
Yeah, thank you. There's a number of people in Buckingham weren't there, we know that.
Yeah.
As you said, your own wife, and
My wife's
I know a number of people who work there now, so thank you. And so the next thing, Catherine, just a couple of things I'd like to pick up on. We did ask some questions about the Section 106 contributions that's supposed to mitigate damage to existing communities, pointing out we've got one GP practice in the town, 820 new houses coming on stream. And we were told that the CCG have a statutory duty for planning, reviewing and monitoring services. Commissioning is not one action, but many ranging from health assets. It basically underlines what Councillor White was telling us, responsibility is more on the NHS. It's up to the local planning authority, to reach an agreement with developers on Section 106. The concentration of outdoor play facilities is the only on-site community obligations we raised. There's they came back and said, as regarding Osier Way and Tindrick Road, there's sufficient existing facilities within the main town. And the assessment of the schemes has taken regard of this. We asked that there should be more involvement of towns, parishes and ward members in planning decisions and fewer executive decisions. We noted that the case officer's report should be publicly available in all cases. And we also requested public comments should be retained on the case file document for future reference. They came back and once again said the council has to fulfil its responsibilities under GDPR, data protection, because of the costs associated in the indefinite retention of such data. The reason we want the comments to stay there is because when there's amended plans or appeals, they've all disappeared. And sometimes the property might change hands, as we found a couple of times, and the incoming owner may know nothing about the objections to his development. So, Catherine, thank you very much for that. It's well worth reading through that report, page 125. Councillor Stutchbury.
I firstly, thank you always, Catherine, for the work she does. Without it, we would be less informed than we are. There are some things that we have to be really concerned about. The comment about Osier Way and whatever we know now, we've had two large developments of 400 and probably another 400, 500 houses with no contribution to amenity and no contribution to community space. We know that the Osier Way development believe they're going to offset their community space by making an off-site contribution. What we don't know, because we're not privy to this section 106, is what that entails. What we don't know is whether there'll be contributions to art centres and things like that, and things that can be confronted with. We've all asked for. I think we do need to go back to them on those things and ask them, going forward, what is their key issues with Buckingham? Clearly it isn't leisure and it isn't providing community facilities and it isn't doing health centres and it isn't providing healthcare. So, because they're not factored greatly in any agreement, of which they are the planning authority. And yes, it's the health authority's duty to acquiesce with them and make a bid, but it is the planning authority's duty to make sure an application is sound and matches the community needs. So we did agree earlier that we'd probably go to the HAS with that. And the other element around it is disappointing that 20 years in, I'm hearing the same sort of explanations I was hearing in 1999 of why we don't get party to it, why we're not having a full adult conversation around Section 106 in 2022, as I was here in 1999. And I remember the big fight that Caroline had even back then was to even get the district to accept a design plan. And we won, or Caroline won with the Buckingham Society, but that was difficult, and everything seems to be difficult. We have a new authority and it shouldn't be so hard. We should be getting better, not worse.
Thank you, Ollie.
I would just comment that the complacency shown in that report is absolutely breathtaking. I really sort of am gobsmacked, frankly, that officers should consider that 1,000 new houses in Buckingham has enough facilities within the constrained confines of a medieval town. It defies belief.
Yeah, and you will recall that ABDC's policy started to become that we don't want community centres on new estates. That's actually part of their policy, which and Buckinghamshire Council seem to have taken that on board now. So, Councillor Stutchbury,
that was because it was an economic decision of the district council not to provide community centres, because they didn't want to actually maintain them because of the cost. What we have got here is the worst of all situations in the sense, and I've never had a legal explanation why Section 106 drafted that in other areas to stand corrected. It can be drafted in such a way that unless the parish wished to enter into a Section 106 agreement on the land, it would revert to a management company and we can be doing it. It's in South Northampton managed to do this, in Milton Keynes they managed to do this, and I understand Oxfordshire managed to do this. Why isn't Buckinghamshire catching up with the times? And I think we need to do some research and go back to what good practice is, because this isn't good practice. It's not a satisfactory response. That's 1,000 houses with no contribution or very little contribution. That's a community we won't have somewhere. And that's not social cohesion. With that comes problems further down the line. And we want communities good, settled and happy places if we're going to have them at all. So this is something we need to take in the neighbourhood plan. But I think we need to check those facts out. I said, and if I'm proved to be correct, which I think I am, we need to advise them of policies of other councils. And I think this is something that I'm going to have to try and pick up in the limited time the Constitution allows me, or get somebody else to ask the question for me, because I was accused of asking too many questions today.
Well, we have got 6 ward councillors, haven't we?
We have, but they won't be at cabinet with me tomorrow, and I haven't seen a written question from them yet at council. So
thank you, Robin. No, thank you for everything you're doing for us. It is noted and appreciated by everyone, I'm sure. Thank you again, Catherine, for that, and say well worth reading. Item 13, Buckinghamshire Council Committee meetings. There's been no Buckingham applications for North Bucks. The agenda for tomorrow's, Friday's meeting, June the 9th, Thursday, not yet posted. Just to note that
It is now and there isn't.
right, okay.
I did attend a meeting the other day.
Yeah, so Councillor Peter Strachan, as you heard earlier, is now the Cabinet Member for Planning and Regeneration, and Councillor Pat Feely and Councillor Alan Turney were re-elected Chairman of the North Bucks Area Planning Committee and the Strategic Sites Committee, respectively.
No, they weren't elected, they were appointed.
Right, it did say election of Chairman above that.
But that took place at the annual strategy meeting. They elected a deputy, which is Councillor Mordew, at the first opportunity at the planning meeting, so that they didn't elect the deputies at the statutory meeting.
Okay.
I didn't take part.
Thank you for that. Enforcement to report any new breaches. Does anyone have any breaches they'd like to raise tonight? No, that's quiet for once. Thank you. To receive and discuss the requested status update on open cases. Again, thank you very much, Catherine. A worrying number of pending ones there, some of them going back to 2019.
But the statistics show that more getting
Good, that was very good news.
but at least I can now sort of file some things away because they've been closed.
Yeah, but it's good we're actually getting this information now, isn't it? So, yeah, I noticed the
No, you have to actually beat it out of.
yeah, I noticed the latest one on there. The 1415 High Street is now closed. That's good. So thank you for that. It's worth having a look through everybody just to see what's going on.
Just one thing, Chairman, on if I could come back on, we've got a proliferation of signs again around the bypass, which we need to have collected up. Large blue signs, and they go out, then they get taken down.
They're the ones that say celebrate Buckingham.
No, they're not. The ones that they're not.
Yeah, there are one or two.
Then they go up, and it's the same company. They go up, they come down, they go up. They go up.
Item 17 is about superfluous redundant signage. So if you could raise that, I might remind you. These are actual breaches. 14.3, the senior compliance and enforcement officers advised us that planning enforcement notices have been served at 9 Addington Road, that is that wall halfway up the hill, and at 28 Border Lane, MK18. That's where the Carolyn's Crossing, as we call it, came into Leystone.
It certainly is adjacent to the bridleway, but I thought that there was a legal question mark over the land there.
Legal have decided that they weren't going to pursue the encroachment on their land because they weren't sure it was their land because they couldn't look up the borders. But enforcement have said that the fence is too big and shouldn't be there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
So
Okay.
they're taking it on what their remit is.
Yes,
It
yeah.
was legal who said, we don't know where the border is, so we can't say whether they
No.
encroached on it.
Yeah,
I would think in due course, they planted a laurel hedge against this fence, and it won't be long before that does encroach on public right of way.
thank you. Robin?
Just to say that on Carol's bridle, where we're going to go riding, we've not done it yet, have we? But it is encroachment up there of the undergrowth, and the other day it was raised to me by the Residents Association that it hadn't actually been maintained, and it is believed to be under highways, not under us. And you recall when we discussed it, it had to have a rubberized mat for the horses' hooves.
No, that's a different one.
Yeah, but but they've not been maintained, so they're going to come back and presumably maintain them, because these facilities have been put in, and we haven't decided yet. I mean, we've got to go out.
No, I did say to you, there are two driveways up there, and you have to be sure which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Well, I was sure at the time.
Yeah, well,
Right.
you were right, I don't think so.
Could we move on, please? Nothing is on it. I think we've had enough horses over the weekend, haven't we? Application to fell trees, updated list of applications, appendix P to note. Also to receive and discuss next, the meeting we had with Rebecca Hart, that was the same day we had the discussions. With that, just looking, it's the last item on the agenda pack. She noted there's been concern about loss of trees, particularly in Buckingham. We made the point that because of the clay in Buckingham, it dries out, and that causing all sorts of problems. She did say, which is quite interesting, that she said, I'm parks in green spaces. I don't do street trees. And I thought that was a bit strange, because she came up to the meeting because we're concerned about our street trees. But
Just this is a problem we keep having,
Yeah.
because Neil is part trees
Yeah.
around here. And TFG deal with street trees.
we've been asking to meet Neil Passmore for 2 years, and instead we get Rebecca Hart. So.
Well, we don't know what internal things are going on.
No, quite.
He is now acting horticultural consultant.
With the commensurate pay increases. Robin?
I think there were some things we established, wasn't there? One is that our concerns about trees haven't completely been addressed. Two is that we've established that Transport for Bucks don't consult Buckinghamshire tree. They do their own works on where they take a tree out or not. So they're acting completely independent to the arboricultures. And I think she said, correctly if I'm wrong, that they don't get consulted on Transport for Bucks trees. So these are ones.
They just don't talk to each other.
No, they don't talk to each other, which is rather concerning, because we've got avenues of trees in Buckingham and adjacent to the highway. So depending on who gets them, how it turns out. The other thing was, we did make the comment that it's all very well taking out trees, but there is a carbon footprint thing. An established tree takes out far more carbon out of the atmosphere than what another tree does, because a new tree will take quite a long time till it sucks in the carbon of a London plane or something. So I think that they didn't really address that. So I think we need to perhaps go back to the appropriate people and ask them within their policy, which is to plant 500,000 trees by such and such. These aren't real trees, they're just twigs. We need to say, I think they planted 500 or something, or 5,000 out of 500,000. They've got a fair way to go. Whether they're going to be recording the carbon loss of substantial trees being taken, because they can't count these trees as being a positive that they're planting if they're removing trees, which is a negative. So every tree they plant isn't going to count for it. So I think we need to ask them, are they going to be doing a carbon impact assessment of the loss of substantial trees in the community against the council's claimed environmental policies? Because if they're not doing that, they're not doing it properly, are they?
Well, Rebecca Hart actually responded, said, actually agree with you at that meeting, we should make it more attractive to keep the tree. Wickham says that the site should have at least 20% of canopy cover. So, Councillor Track.
Yes, I can report a loss of a healthy tree on Page Hill. One of the residents reported to me there. And while they were cutting it down, they took the growth away around it to expose the tree, and then decided the tree was actually quite healthy and there's no reason to fell it, but their instructions were to fell it. So that went. And later on in the day, in the same area, this gentleman has got some subsidence, possible, it's going through insurance, but somebody else from the ground maintenance from the council started to look around, and he suggested it was for insurance purposes, that now they were taking this shrubbery away. So the other one may have been for insurance purposes as well, but they didn't know. So
These are on private land, were they?
No,
On the open space.
open space land. So the resident was annoyed that he hadn't heard it through his own insurance company, and was dismayed that they'd gone to Buckinghamshire Unitary and it had just been done without telling anybody.
Are they not obliged to come to us over those trees?
No, it's not in the conservation area. They're
Oh, right.
Not protected.
Right.
I couldn't
But,
tell
you
you
know-
about O'Connor's blocking the path this morning.
Right.
Yes,
They've completely
But, you know,
got the only path.
we have
down
lost
to the
it.
Lollipop Lady and bus stop with their van. And then in the grass that I had to walk around on, there was a whole heap of brakes and similar tools, which you wouldn't have wanted little children being
Yeah,
able
right,
to
right.
school.
we've lost another canopy, you know, to something which maybe we don't need to lose it to.
Page Hill has been a disaster the last 2 years, hasn't it? So, Robin.
Can I ask that we take an amendment to council, to a motion, council, that we were going to make 2022 year of the tree. The reason I'm going to say we take an amendment to council, because we didn't do any press release on it and we didn't do anything. So I will maybe place an amendment to the motion at council, because we are now got, and I said at the time that we'll get well through the year, no press release has been undertaken. A motion was agreed at council, voted on unanimously, and we didn't do anything about making 2022 the year of the tree. So I accept that hasn't happened, so I maybe draft an amendment to the motion, but ask it to be done in 2023, because quite frankly, any press release now about the fact that we're concerned about the trees would be superfluous and a waste of officers' time. So you will recall we agreed it, and it hasn't happened, and I don't know what the reason was, whether it was the motion, whether it was the fact of whatever, but it hasn't happened. And that is much regret, because it was originally designed, the motion, through council, which was delayed for various reasons we won't go into now.
It was delayed until that meeting, which was just before we had the Arts Bank holiday weekend. It was quite busy.
So here we are, we're considering that meeting tonight, Robin, so perfect timing.
So I think we take an amendment to council then and ask for it to be 2023, the year of the year.
And we could call it 2023.
2023, yeah.
Well, that can come as a recommendation. From this committee.
Yeah, that we do it
I was
for
thinking it comes with 3
2023.
reminders.
Is everyone in favour of that?
Because
Thank you.
we can't do it on 2022, it'd be superb.
Margaret.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for keeping as many trees as we can and not chopping them down and planting new ones, yes. I think the only issue I have is, what is the practical output of making it the year of the tree?
Well, you have to get 6 signatures to go back and discuss it, understanding orders, because it's gone through council and it was voted on unanimously for council to do the motion to do this. So, and it's gone through various things. It was delayed because the meeting was delayed.
Yes, I know.
And I don't want to go into that. So it's had a really rough ride through council. And as I put it on paper, I'm going to be tardy about how we actually get it through, because we're discussing what's happened here. The idea of it wasn't to, everyone wants to come up with reasons why we wouldn't pursue it. and why we didn't do something, and the Environment Age Committee got involved, and everyone got involved. And all it was to flag up that we were losing trees in Buckingham. And so I think that we do need to, from this committee, recommend that we make 2023, not get overcomplicated with it. If we want to go back and amend the motion, you have to get 6 councillors to come back to amend it.
Councillor Donahue?
Thank you, Chairman. I'm not speaking for the mayor, but I don't think that's what she meant, to go back and discuss it and kind of throw out the year of the tree. Robin's saying put an amendment to something that we've already agreed, and then he said we've got to get 6 signatures if we want to discuss it again. We are in, I know that we're in June now, but there's no reason to scrap something that we have discussed, we have agreed, we did vote on, that 2022 is year of the tree. That's done. So there's no reason to go back on that. And 2023, there's no harm making that year of the tree either. I don't think there's an issue with it. We just need to get on and do a press release.
I've come back because technically understanding orders is the council makes a decision and agrees something, and then it has to carry forward. And my view is that, being a pragmatist, that the agreement to make it 2022 seems to be hardly appropriate now. So my view is that we go forward to 2023, because it's saying it will make 2022 the year of the tree. The first question we're going to ask is, why have you waited till to June to make it the year of the tree?
July by the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
However, we don't want any further delay, do we? So,
No.
and you could argue that we've just started a new council year.
Okay,
So actually, it would be
I
an
go with that.
ideal time to be doing it.
I'll go with that. I'll surrender. I'll surrender to that.
We have to do what we can to protect our trees.
And can I ask you, if we are doing the press release, I can add some words to it as I actually motion to council.
Who will the press release come from?
From yourself, the mayor, and the proposed inclusion.
Right. Lisa, are you happy with that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't want to scrap having 2022 as the year of the tree. It's a good idea from Robin from the start, and I think we just need to get on and deal with it.
Right, are members all happy with that?
Yeah.
Thank you. So, have you got that, Paul?
We that was good.
That was well good. I enjoyed that.
Thank you very much. So, item 16 is the section 106 quarterly update. Mr. Rowley, nothing to add in this. But Catherine, you made some notes about the.
Yes, I wonder whether Councillor Wise was saying, because I'd asked him to investigate the actual costs of installing the electric. Because I think that's a number of quite out of the sky.
The 40,000.
Yes,
Yeah.
there's, I think we should see some kind of costings for that sort of thing. One charging point can't possibly cost 18,000. And putting it in certain fields was it makes Mr. Rowley's job easier, because that's what the section 106 says the money is supposed to be used for. So he doesn't have to negotiate a variation with the developer. And 2, it's a free all day car park. So you could put a trickle charger in there, and somebody could come to work and leave their car on charge.
Yeah. Okay.
So I need to pursue that. I'll see if I've got anywhere, and if not, I'll look at it in another.
Everyone happy to leave that with Catherine? Caroline?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Catherine did ask for alternative uses for that money, should this electric charging point. And certainly a member of the Buckingham Society suggested that it should be used to create a public footpath between the entrance to the car park and the footpath that leads behind Wharf Place.
That's ongoing at the moment anyway, because we're monitoring.
You mean it's sort of parallel to the river?
Yes, yeah, well, parallel to the
Because
football ground.
there is that bit of
How's the football ground?
planting in the corner of all side places, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
Where the footpath.
I promised I'd bring it up.
Right, thank you.
It's just a shortcut. Isn't it?
Yeah,
Shortcut.
yeah. So, item 17, matters to report. Any members got damaged, superfluous, redundant signage? Councillor Stutchbury on the Ring Road and then
There
Councillor.
are some blue signs which have reappeared on the Ring Road. They appear periodically and they are on the bypass. I said the Ring Road, it's just a document said Ring Road. I do apologise, Derek. I'm very, listening, he'd be very upset at that because you always corrected every one of us when anybody said anything wrong about that. And it was nice.
Could you just,
But anyway, the ones
what
on
are the
the
blue signs?
they're from one of the housing agents. I don't wish to name the housing agent. Yes, and they are appearing prolifically around the town again. They get shut down and then they come back again. It's not for us to remove them, but we do have a policy for removing them. So then they can come.
Estate agent signs are advertising if they are not actually within the curtilage of the premises advertised.
They're lettings. It's a lettings thing.
Nevertheless, if they are estate agent signs, they have to be within the garden or attached to the building that is being.
The garages on Linden Village probably wouldn't be worth living in.
That's the rule, otherwise it's advertising in these.
Anyway, we'll look into that. Thank you very much. Anyone else got any?
Lisa.
Yeah, Lisa, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. I don't know if you wanted to do it under Chairman's items, but it is a matter of urgency that we've just found out that green space in Linden Village is up for auction on the 29th of June. It says in the application on Rightmove that it's 22 acres, which I'm not a farmer, but I don't think it's that big, and includes roadways. Well, the roads in Linden Village have been adopted by the county council, well, the then county council. So I don't know what roads can be auctioned.
It also includes the segment of the bypass.
I mean,
Between the two entrances to Burley Peace.
this will be coming up under the next item. At the moment, we're still on matters to report. So
Okay.
we'll come back to you on that. I have a matter to report, superfluous signage. I only just noticed it yesterday and I was queuing at the lights, but outside the Swan Pool, there's still a large red sign saying new 30-mile-an-hour speed limit in force. Yeah. New, it's on the car between them.
How new is that?
10 years, 20,
10
30
years. So it's on the edge of the Swan Pool car park where it borders London Road. It's a red sign. It's been turned slightly sideways, which is probably why we don't.
I'll tell the local area technician.
I was sitting in a traffic jam.
We did the ones on Walton Road.
Could we keep it in reserve, Chairman, in case we ever need it?
But don't jump the gun.
We won't jump again.
Right, so under Chairman's items for information, thank you, Lisa, I was raising the Burley piece. And as you said, quite rightly, it's come up on Rightmove, £5,000 guide price for 22 acres. It's not just for that triangle of land, it's all the bits on the estate, and it also, as Catherine points out, includes the verges on the bypass where it goes past there. So it is coming up for online auction on the 29th of June. We think it's because Federated Homes, which has been broken up gradually over the years, is finally selling off its assets. So the recommendation would be that we ask the town clerk to investigate this as a matter of urgency.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Because we do actually have a meeting, don't we, on the 27th, which is 2 days before the interim meeting. So, Lisa?
Thank you. Yeah, I think if we get some information, if the chairman can call like an emergency meeting or something, then that might be worth doing. But Warren, Councillor White sent me a message. He saw a post I put on the Linden Village Facebook group. It's a closed group. And I've pointed him to have a look at it. So he's just found out about it today. I found out about it yesterday from Andy, and I just think that's awful that, you know, those of us that live on Linden Village haven't been told about it at all.
Thank you very much. If I can just go to Claire first.
I can say that it is something the town clerk is already aware of. We've had correspondence across the office about it, and we're putting a plan together ASAP, so we are fully aware of the urgency.
Excellent. Andy, you're
Yeah, thank you.
All I was going to say is if this could be brought as an agenda item of the full council, or the next full council meeting, or extraordinary. full
Yes,
council meeting.
interim on the 27th,
27th.
only 2 days before the auction.
Yeah,
Close.
hoping something quick before that.
Yeah, well, it can always be an extraordinary meeting. If it's,
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Robin.
Yeah, there is the issues around it, that it's 3 interested parties in it. And that wearing one hat, which is a charity, that's looking at it. I also, when was made aware of it by a school friend, it was even Friday or Thursday during the Jubilee, and I instantly made the town clerk aware of it instantly because of the possible prejudiced nature of it. But I don't think we should, until we've established all the issues around it, that we shouldn't say anything publicly. And I think that the auction is on, it's going to 29th, which is a public auction. We won't comment on that, but I do think when we've got all the facts, we can leave it with the officers to come forward. If there's an urgent need to discuss it, they'll know the legal reasons why we need to discuss it. But we shouldn't second guess what the officers advise us.
Thank you. Andy?
Just to add, my daughter looked around on Google to the auction house. They're selling a lot of small parcels of land all over the country on that day. And so it looks like there's a Frederick Homes are just getting rid of or the administrators are getting rid of all the piece of land everywhere.
Anything you want to add, Catherine?
Well, yes, because the strip down the bypass includes the Ransom strip that the trust owns,
Yeah, which
which I have got land registered deeds to prove that the trust owns. So
Thank you.
they can't sell out land.
So we'll leave the office to sort that out and come back to us, and if necessary, call an extraordinary.
Yes, please,
Yeah.
yes.
I think we'll have to-
Thank you very much. The other one that's not under my chairman's information, some of you may be aware that Blore Homes are looking at this site, which is between Horton Road, the old Horton Road, and the A421, which will include the Pegasus crossing. They want, this is Web Developments. They've asked for a meeting with the town council to put forward their plans for this site. Paul, Margaret and I had an email discussion about it, and we felt rather than do it at the interim, which is going to be busy in the evening anyway, leave it until July the 18th at the full council and invite Mr. Robert Webb to come and put forward his ideas as an agenda item, so he can speak and we can talk to him about it. Lisa?
Would you be able to send that information around to everybody on planning? So I can't see the picture that you held up.
Yeah, I mean, that's just a picture I printed off this morning, just so we...
I can send you a picture of the site, Lisa.
Thank you.
There'll be supporting paper for council.
Thank you.
Yes, just so members are aware that this is coming up. Of course, the things that immediately jump up are it's designated on our neighbourhood plans, the local landscape area, and also it's outside the main neighbourhood plans settlement boundaries. So, of course, the big difference here is that Morton Road Phase 3 was originally refused for this reason, but that was put in the new VALP, but no such housing allocations been made in the new VALP for this piece of land. So, and Paul will make Mr. Webb aware of that before the meeting. That if the council is minded to protect its neighbourhood plan, then it will quite possibly oppose it. So, Robin?
just that I presume through you, Chairman, and both officers, that meeting would only be an information meeting, which we'd hear what they've got to say, but it wouldn't be a termination meeting because I presume there's nothing to discuss unless they put the planning application in which case then that's a completely different matter.
We invite without prejudice.
Yeah.
We did this with Waits, we did it with David Wilson Barrett, and it's worked well with them on Tidrick Road and Osier Way. So that's just for information. My only final item here is you'll be aware that Hardcastle has been raising funds for a legal challenge against 170 houses at Walnut Drive, Maids Morton. And I've had an email from him this afternoon trying to raise 31,000. He's so far raised 20,230, so well on the way. Carolyn?
Actually, I was going to bring this up under AOB. That's not quite right. He's raised £30,000.
He's raised 30?
Yes.
Right.
Towards a target of 40. And the final £10,000 does need to be raised. And he's taken a stall on the market on the 11th of June and the 18th of June, I believe, or 11th and 25th of June, 2 Saturday mornings. And the campaign is for 500 people to donate £20, because he's calculated that if 500 people felt generous enough to add £20, either in addition or new money, that £10,000 would be raised.
Right.
So that's the position, and he is also inviting all members of the town council just to go down to the store and support him.
Many of us have already, of course.
I know,
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. So that's false news that we were sent today there. Talking about raising 20,000 of the 31,000 is up. That's from the.
Yes, that after all the fundraising and the Just Giving crowdfunding sites,
Yeah.
he has got to a total of approximately 30,000. I think it's just over.
Thank you.
But as I say, this is a campaign that the last little bit it'll be a bit more difficult, and it would be really appreciated if you could perhaps just call in and give him support verbally, if not financially.
Thank you very much, Karen. You'll recall that Pat's doing this because it lessens the risk of heavy costs if you're doing it as an individual rather than as a local authority or company. Is that right?
I know this may be preempting, but he's a good friend of mine, Pat. I worked with one Maids Morton Parish Council. But if we could give a congratulations after the event and the money raise, that's been that's substantial. I think that we should all congratulate him and Maids Morton Parish Council on their brilliant efforts to try and craft on this money.
Yeah, we have of course been supporting him all the way through anyway. So yes, it's just a continuation of that. Thank you very much. I have no other items of information. If no one else has, then date of the next meeting is Monday, the 27th of June, which will be after that interim meeting at 7 p.m. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Thanks.